This is Call of Duty 2 on the Xbox 360, a launch title for the system. I had the pleasure of playing this game a few weeks back, and it's pretty interesting to play this game today when we have the new up-and-coming Call of Duty Vanguard releasing at the end of the year. Now, this is one of the earlier Call of Duties. I got into this series back during Call of Duty 3, which technically released the year after this game. But I wasn't really a big fan of Call of Duty 3. I'm actually going to save that rant for a different time as to why. But Call of Duty 2 I've heard very good things about, and when I started game collecting and, kind of picking up some of these older classics that I never got the chance to play back in the day, this is one that I heard very, very positive things about. And I have to say that playing it now, it is very inherent that this is one of the most intense first-person shooters I've played, specifically during this type of era. We're talking about World War II shooters here, at a time where I think games were taking a much more slower, methodical pace, much more story-focused. Call of Duty 2 brings an amount of intensity to its battles that I think was pretty sparse when compared to the stuff that was releasing around that time. Now, the game is set across 3 different campaigns, and these campaigns take you basically all across the globe, and that's what I have to say I really like about this game. It feels incredibly expansive. You're fighting in a bunch of different types of continents and stuff like that all over the world. It really gives you the feeling that this is a world war that is ongoing, and you're fighting for various different factions and stuff. You start off playing as a Russian through the Russian campaign, which is very interesting. Then you move on to Europe, playing from some of the people in the UK. That's what we're watching here today, is Europe fighting against the African army. And then later on in the game, you're actually playing an American fending off the Japanese and the German forces as well. So it's a very, very interesting game that kind of takes you all over the place, and I have to say that it really felt compelling for that reason. Like, you really got the sense that this was a real full-scale war, like I was saying before, and the gameplay certainly holds up. This is a simpler Call of Duty by today's standards, right? So you don't have a lot of the interesting gameplay styles. There's no stealth in this game or anything like that that you can do in these sort of newer Call of Duties. But the first-person shooting, the core gameplay here is just all-out action and chaos happening all around you. The sound design is absolutely incredible. And this is an actual difficult game that, will actually test the limits of your strategy and force you to really improvise and think outside the box in order to accomplish your objectives. I really like how this game also has open level design, which is really cool. They basically place you in a battlefield, and you have multiple different objectives around these battlefields. Yes, they do have the straight sort of linear, standard stuff that we've seen in even today's Call of Duties, but a lot of times they'll place you in these open environments, and you have maybe 3, 4, 5 plus objectives, and you can actually accomplish these in any order that you want. It's not so interesting or varied though, but it does give you the flexibility to accomplish these how you want and in what order you want. And I found myself really playing this game at a different pace than I do with the standard Call of Duties. You can't just walk in, to a room and just open fire and, be perfectly fine taking cover behind a table and just surviving. This is the type of game where you're going to want to be crouched, taking your time, looking around the corners, using grenades to your advantage. There's no flashbangs in this game. It's only smoke grenades, of course. And, you're going to have to really sort of approach these areas in a strategic fashion. And I have to say, I really, really like that. I think it's really important to note the time period that this game came out in. Multiplayer gaming was certainly on the rise. We just had the launch of a new generation of consoles. I think visually, the game definitely looks dated in terms of its emptiness in the levels. There's not a lot of detail going on. Some of the character models could be better. But again, the core gameplay here of how it feels and stuff is very well done. I think the guns in particular have a very good sense of inertia and recoil to them, where you do feel their power sort of as you're using them. And I think that's really important in a game like this. It actually encourages you to sort of test out newer weapons and to approach different levels in various types of ways. And the whole pacing of the game is, again, much slower than you would expect of your typical Call of Duty by today's standards. But I think that's really aided by the fact that this game does ask you to just approach things with a little bit more strategy than being sort of the one-man super soldier style that, the later Call of Duties kind of really encourage. I also have to say that the length of the campaign actually felt significantly longer. I think it took me a little bit over 8 hours to actually complete this game, and that was across the 3 different campaigns. And by the end of it, you're just like, you feel like you just like fought literally a war. And it really gave you the sense that this was not an easy fight, that many people had lost their lives, and there's a little bit of a newfound respect, I guess, that I had playing this game for the people who kind of went through it, because the game really, although emphasizes the action, does at least have these quieter moments where you're just kind of standing around, and especially after battles and stuff, there's this one level towards the end of the game where it's basically the battle for Hill 400, and it's just enemies coming all around you from all these different sides, and your comrades are sitting there screaming, just telling you to watch your flank, and you're just sitting there, oftentimes in the corner, feeling suppressed at all times. It's seriously an unwavering amount of intensity during that last section. And then by the end of it all, your victory is sort of met with this silence that just sort of overtakes the level, and you have all these soldiers that are just like, they've lost their friends and stuff on the battlefield. Some of the people that you've played with have just literally died, and it's not really a celebration of a victory, but rather a tribute to those who have sacrificed their lives. And the game really makes this emphasis to kind of showcase those quieter moments in a way that I think a lot of modern games especially are a little bit too afraid to show. Again, we have the latest Call of Duty releasing at the end of this year, which just happens to be a World War II shooter, Call of Duty Vanguard. And based off of what we've seen of the campaign so far, I don't want to sit here and give an opinion on stuff that we don't know anything about. But if we sort of look at the direction and the history of where Call of Duty campaigns in the modern era have taken us, I'd be surprised if Vanguard comes even close to half of what this game accomplished in the time that I played it. I mean, it's seriously an intense shooter that doesn't let up. And there's vehicle sections, like I said, these open levels which allow you to sort of play the game at your own pace. And there's a difficulty to it all. You can't just run into this game, with all guns blazing and, expecting to survive. I mean, some of these guys don't go down, and it just doesn't let up throughout the entire campaign. It doesn't let up for 1 second. I have to say that although this game does have a multiplayer component, I'm under the impression that, they put a little bit more effort into the campaign this time around. Not saying that multiplayer wasn't a focus at all. I'm sure it was. Right, but we have to remember that this was basically the start of what would become a generation where multiplayer would really take off. I think a lot of people who played games on 6th generation probably didn't have full-scale online multiplayer, at least available to them. Certainly internet connections back then were very much left to be desired. But you just look at the achievements and stuff for this game, and in order to get basically a full perfect gamer score, all you have to do is play the campaign on veteran. There's no achievements at all for multiplayer, which is actually pretty interesting. And I imagine that would, I know that changed definitely in the later Call of Duties. So I just had this idea that when they were making this game, that there was a core focus on delivering a campaign experience that was rather unforgettable. And one that would require you to play it at a slower pace and take your time and to really, engage with the characters and understand how you approach different situations. Of course, a lot of the gameplay improvements and stuff that we would normally see in Call of Duties today are not really to be found here. The game is pretty accessible in terms of its controls. I think anyone who has played the previous Call of Duties can pick this game up and feel relatively right at home. You just gotta sort of, put your mindset back during that day. There's no sprinting in this game. That wouldn't be introduced until Call of Duty 4. The idea of cooking grenades is also something that just isn't present in this game. And to be honest, grenades are kind of useless in this game, I found. every single time I seemed to chuck a grenade at an enemy, they would seem to basically run or pick up the grenade and basically throw it away. That this might be a result of actually good AI, I guess, but I think I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've actually killed someone with a grenade in this game, and I just ended up not using them. It was far more effective for me just to sit here behind cover and pick enemies off one by one. However, I do have to say that smoke grenades as a line of defense and tactical gameplay proved to be extremely useful. These are some of the best smoke grenades I've ever seen in a video game. Like, they are a requirement at times to get yourself through some of these levels, and you'll find yourself using them many times to sort of get into an enemy position very quickly and start taking some people out, because otherwise, I mean, they put you down pretty quick, to be completely honest. I mean, these guys do not mess around. You will die within seconds if you just simply pop your head out, and many times it'll leave you just frustrated as you have no idea what killed you, because all hell is breaking loose around you. It's a pretty incredible experience, and something that you just kind of grow used to as you start playing this game, and you have to change your mindset again. So as a Call of Duty game, I believe it's very competent, very good at conveying the intensity of war in a way that I don't think any other Call of Duty game has before, other than probably Call of Duty World at War, which is another extremely violent game. That was more about the horrors of war rather than the intensity of the actual battles. This game is basically the violence of Call of Duty World at War, but layered over the action rather than the gore and the horror of it all. You know, you'll find that same level of intensity, but it's part of the action and the battles that you're facing. And, of course, it being an earlier title, you're not exactly going to get these incredibly scary blood effects and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, this is really just a time capsule for a franchise that would engrave itself in our pop culture and become sort of a cultural phenomenon where, even if you're not a gamer, you know what Call of Duty is, you know about this series, and it's turned into this massive thing. And, back then with the sequel, it was regarded as a great first-person shooter, but nothing to the degree that it is now. And while I do have issues, at least, with, the direction that Activision has certainly taken with the series, I wish that they would actually give this series a break, at least just for a few years. Do what Ubisoft did with the Assassin's Creed franchise. But, I don't think Activision cares whatsoever, and the bottom line is people are still going to buy Call of Duty. And I sort of look at this franchise today sort of like the sport games. It's the first-person shooter equivalent to Madden and FIFA that comes out every single year with minimal changes, and it's just about, a different war at a different time. But the gameplay and the core gameplay and what the game is about rarely ever changes. It's been that way for a very long time, at least it's always seemed like it. And while I enjoy the modern Call of Duties for their campaigns, really only, to be honest, that's really the only reason why I even play the modern Call of Duties today. I don't really care for the multiplayer direction that the series has taken itself in. And, the campaigns are a fun roller coaster ride, but, you just sort of are left, sitting there saying, okay, that was like 5 seconds of fun, but you don't think about it afterwards. It's not like a tangible experience that really sort of leaves its mark on you. This game, I feel, is memorable in the fact that there are some crazy battles and also some moments in here that really make you question whether or not you're going to survive this battle at the end of the day. I don't know if I've ever really felt that in a Call of Duty, at least for a very long time. Maybe playing Call of Duty 4, I got that feeling, but it was a very different time. Again, even with that game being, technically only 2 years older than this game at the time it would have come out. It was still, the landscape of gaming was changing drastically at that point. Bottom line is, Call of Duty 2 is one hell of a first-person shooter experience, and is one that I do think is worth a look if you're looking for really just a time capsule of where the series was back in the day and where it sort of got its roots from. It's very interesting, again, to play this game now, especially with Vanguard coming out, which is, going back to the World War II setting here. just the multiplayer alpha that I played on PS5. You know, yeah, it's multiplayer. It's not the single player campaign, but just the stuff that we've seen so far, it doesn't look anything like this whatsoever. And you know, they are taking some liberties, they said, at least with the concepts of, you know, World War and what it was. It's supposed to be like an alternate history thing, but you know, it's just a very interesting game to play these days. It is backwards compatible, by the way, on the Xbox, which you're seeing me play it right now on the Series X, and it looks fantastic. It sounds fantastic. It plays fantastic. Perfectly solid 60 FPS. I did hear it does have dips if you play it on the original 360 hardware, but you know, backwards compatibility, you can get this game like dirt cheap these days, and you can play it at a smooth frame rate on the modern consoles, which is pretty cool. So let me know if you guys had played this game back when it was new. I'm glad I was actually able to experience this game, and as a launch title for the 360, I think it's one of the better shooters on that system. And still, you know, even after, what is it, 16 years later almost, you know, even after all of this time, seriously, I was most impressed by just I know I've said this word a lot, but the intensity of everything. And I really mean that to heart. Like, I was like, you know, there are a lot of battles in here where it's just like you don't know what to do and you're just firing at everything that moves. And you have no idea if you're going to survive or not. Again, I haven't felt that in a Call of Duty game in a very long time, if ever. It's been a very interesting experience. So happy to play it, and hope you guys enjoyed this video. And let me know if you played the game yourself, all right? Until the next Call of Duty comes out, this has been Call of Duty 2 on Xbox 360.